Delicious. Howdy everyone, it's Tom Spellman here with Dave Wilson Nursery. It's a beautiful end of June day in the San Joaquin Valley, and it's time that we start taking a look at our new backyard style orchard and incorporating in a little bit of summer pruning. So I'm going to do a couple of different styles of summer pruning today. I'm going to work with trees that have already produced their crop, like this Flavor Delight Apium. And then we're also going to work with some trees that still have fruit on them. So we're going to be doing some opening up of the centers a little bit and allowing better light exposure and better air movement so that that fruit ripens up uniformly. So two different styles of summer pruning. Let's start with our Flavor Delight. This one's already done. We've got lots of new growth. So what we want to do is we want to get back to our basic structure. So we're going to come in where we made our last cuts and we're going to check it one more time. Anything too low down here on the root. Go ahead and take that off. And we just want to make this look good. We just want to keep the form nice and tight so that our next flush of growth is going to give us some nice production wood here for next season. We've got plenty of time through the rest of the summer to redevelop that production form. And you've got to remember, on a tree like this, on a plant like this, the structure, the shape, the ornamental appeal is just as important as the fruit. We're going to get lots of fruit on this plant, but we also want to make sure that we take advantage of the form. So going back to structure, going back to our original 3-wire system and making sure that this matches up and meets up well is the main concern here. Now, one of the things that we had an opportunity to do with this tree this year is we were short an arm. You know, we had 5 out of 6 of our lateral branches here. So now with our summer growth, we've reestablished that first arm, that missing arm. So I'm going to take this and just put a couple of ties on it so that we can keep it in line with the rest of our growth. This is just the standard nursery 1/2-inch green tie tape. And we're not going to tie it real tight. We're going to leave a little bit of a gap here in between the branch and the wire. All we want to do is seat it into place. We don't necessarily want to cinch it down too tight so that we're going to girdle the branch. So now, within just a few minutes, we've come back in, we've checked our growth for the summer, we have reworked our established lateral forms on the espalier, we've established our 6th arm, so we have a complete system here, and we're going to have plenty of nice production wood for next year. I think the most important message with a tree like this is just so that you realize you are working more to establish ornamental structure and appeal, and the fruit is going to come on its own anyway. The fruit's going to come just because you have a nice form that's been cut back tight. You're going to get another flush of growth. We will definitely prune this one more time this summer. Probably around late August or the 1st of September, we'll come back and check it one more time. And that's going to give us our finished form for next year. Due to the high incidence of eutypa that spreads through the winter season, most apricots, commercial apricots now, are not even pruned at all during the winter. So we're going to do all of our pruning on this apricot through the summer and just skip any winter pruning at all. Here's a new introduction to the backyard orchard that went in this winter. This is Bavay's Green Gage Plum. It's a small European style plum, very, very flavorful. One of the favored varieties for late season here at the nursery. We're going to grow this as a fan espalier, not as a tiered espalier. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to check some growth a little bit. We've got a rootstock sucker here of Citation, so I want to take that off clean. We have 3 main branches coming out of this low cut. So you can see where this was originally cut, about 8 inches above the bud union. So this is our new flush of growth that we've had through the spring. So what we want to do now is we want to segregate out these 3 main vigorous stems, and we're going to check this other growth. So I'm going to take this other little side growth off. You don't have to take it all the way off. You can leave a couple of buds or so that you get a a little bit of regrowth, and you get a little strengthening ability and built some caliper because of that. I'm not going to tie this up now. It's really too young to do anything with. I want to see another nice flush of growth. I want this to come up to about 6 feet or so, and at that point we'll start to work our structure. When we can reach the next 2 wires, we'll start to work our fan structure. So when we come back later on in the summer, this is one that we'll revisit, and we'll get our finished fan structure, or our basic fan structure started to work off of for next year. Well, here's one of my favorite trees in this planting. You know, this is our espaliered 3-tiered Burgundy plum. And if you're not a big fan of Burgundy plum, after you look at this tree, you will be. It's only been in the ground for 2 full seasons, and it has an incredible fruit set on it. I mean, there's literally, and we thinned this like you wouldn't believe. We thinned off probably 150 fruit, and I would say there's no less than 100 on here still today on this little 2-year-old tree. There's just clusters like grapes in here of Burgundy plums, and they're all starting to color up. And the nice thing about this variety, and the nice thing about this technique, is the tight growth kind of hides this fruit. Burgundy plum is a real popular one for bird damage because it's so bright and beautiful and showy. The birds can get in and find it. But on this tree, we have 0 bird damage yet. There's no bird damage at all. So the tree's doing a great job of hiding the fruit. Now, we are going to lighten it up today, but I'm going to try and leave the fruit as tight as I can, and try not to open it up too much. We'll get better light exposure and air movement, but I don't want too much light exposure. I don't want it to be open up to the bird damage. For those of you that have followed some of my other videos and the lectures that we've done over the years, you know my philosophy on summer pruning is, if you have to think about the cut, just make the cut. So don't spend too much time deciding on whether you should make a cut or not. Take a look, you understand your basic structure, you know what the function is, and you know the way the tree needs to be shaped. Just come in and do it. Don't stand here and think about it. The more you think about it, the less you're going to get done, and the more confused you'll be. And again, we're structuring this tree so that it looks good. The fruit production is going to come naturally. The fruit production is going to be there no matter what we do. So we just want to make sure we keep it in check and in balance and looking good, and then we're done with it. Then we walk away from it. Now, Burgundy plum typically is not ripe here at the end of June. It's going to be 2 or 3 more weeks before the fruit's really starting to build flavor, but it just looks too good. I've got to try one. You know what?
Right.
The flavor's there. It's good already. And the nice thing about Burgundy plum, long hang time. We'll get at least 8 weeks of hang time out of this variety, so you don't have to be pressured by trying to pick too much fruit at one time. Use it little by little over that season. And here it is, end of June, and it's already good. Gotta love Burgundy plum. Well, here we are in a little pluot hedgerow. It's 6 different varieties, 5 feet apart and 30 feet. And Flavor Rosa's done. It was ripe a couple of weeks ago. Splash is just starting to ripen up now, so we've got lots and lots of fruit on here. Splash is typically not a real large fruiting variety. It's one of the Z-Sweet Nuggets, but you know, it's a beautiful piece of fruit, and the tree is just loaded. So what we want to do now on our pluots is we're going to come in, take a little bit out of the top, do a little bit of work on the side so that we have better light exposure and better air movement to fully ripen up this crop of fruit. So what we're going to do at this point is we're going to restructure our hedge. We're going to bring it back into bounds. We're going to walk down both sides, and we're going to clean it up and square it off a little bit, take a little bit out of the top here, and allow for some regrowth through the rest of the summer, and that's going to give us that light exposure and air movement to really ripen up that fruit properly. So we'll just walk down the row, and we'll square it off a little bit. And I'm not trying to make or create a formal English style hedge that would be used in a sculptured garden. All I want to do is create a balanced form so that we have an area where we have a boundary, we have a marker. This is a boundary between a couple of different rows. So all we want to do is establish that structure. It doesn't have to be formal. So we're just going to walk down the row, we're going to hit every tree in the row, and we're just going to give ourselves a little balance here. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could do this with a pair of hedge clippers. You don't even need to have a pair of hand clippers out here. You could use just a big pair of hedge clippers and come and square this whole thing off. On our top cuts, we're going to come up a little bit higher than we did last season, so we're going to give ourselves a little bit more room, another step in that structure of the tree. So where we took these off at about 5 feet or 5.5 feet last time, we're going to come up to about 7 feet now, so we're giving ourselves another step in structure. This will basically be our finished height. So at this point, we don't want them to get a whole lot bigger. We just want them to get beefier and more productive. So you can see all the fruit in the tree. I mean, it's just got a beautiful set of fruit. The center's pretty well opened up already. We're taking off some of that top cover. We're opening up the side growth a little bit. So this is really going to give us that last couple of weeks worth of light exposure and air movement that's just going to make it just absolutely prime and delicious. One of the things that I really like about summer pruning this time of year is you absolutely cannot make a mistake. If you just have a couple simple goals in mind, I'm gonna clean up the sides, I'm gonna reduce all the top growth to about 6.5 or 7 feet, and just follow those two simple procedures and nothing else. Don't waste time thinking about anything else. Don't think, oh, there's a little broken branch back here, there's too much growth over here. All you're doing is checking size. All you're doing is looking for balance. So the detail work can all be done later. Summer pruning, I don't want to say it's mindless, but it's about as close as you could get. I could probably do it blindfolded. If you make a cut that you didn't like, you know what? You're going to get some regrowth at that point and put that structure back. And if there's a branch that you feel you didn't cut but you should have, you'll have an opportunity to come back and do it again at a later time. I just want everybody to take one thing into consideration with my simplistic approach to pruning here. I just want everybody to understand that summer pruning is very simple. Summer pruning does not have to be detail oriented, and if you want to be detail oriented, that's fine. But if not, come out, choose a size, choose a shape, prune to that shape, and walk away from it. Here's our new double planting of Mini Royal and Royal Lee Cherry. These have only been in the ground now for one season. You can see they've done really well. These are True Dwarf Mini Royal and Royal Lee on Zager's Z-Dwarf rootstock. They're literally planted right on top of each other in the ground here, and we're going to grow them just like a double trunk specimen. They'll get plenty of cross-pollination, and they'll have plenty of opportunity to produce some good fruit. We actually ate a few fruit off of them this year. Now you can see we've already got 3 feet to 3.5 feet of new growth on it. So I want to keep this combination nice and short. So the first thing I'm going to do, and these two trees, by the way, are staggered. This one, the Mini Royal, is kept shorter than the Royal Lee in the back. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I follow that pattern. So I'm going to take the Mini Royal out fairly low, probably at about here 5 feet, and just clean up this side growth a little bit. So we just want to prune to some outward growing buds so our next flush of growth really gives us a nice globe shape to this combination. The trees have just done beautiful. There's no bacterial problems or disease problems. I mean, they've just done excellent here in the ground this first full season. And then I'm going to look at the Royal Lee. I'm going to give it a little bit more height. So I'm going to come up about 18 inches higher on the Royal Lee. It's already, look at the spur wood. It's already setting a nice crop of spur wood here for next year. We're going to get some great production here next year. These varieties are just incredible. The quality of the fruit is excellent and the production is just dynamite. The best thing that these two varieties have going for them is they've totally broken the mold when it comes to chill requirements for cherries. These varieties literally need almost no chill at all. We're rating them at 200 to 300 hours, and I've seen them producing in areas that don't even get near that. So just a great combination, wonderful quality fruit. Early season, big, bold red cherries that'll produce in areas where cherries could never grow before. Mini Royal and Royal Lee are wonderful new varieties. One of the issues that we've had with Mini Royal and Royal Lee, especially since they've only been on the market now for 3 years, a lot of people have emailed me or called me and said, hey, you know what, they're not blooming simultaneously. The Mini Royal blooms first and it's almost out of bloom when the Royal Lee comes into bloom. And we found that to be fairly true on young trees, especially in coastal conditions. But the further inland you get, and as soon as those trees go into their 3rd year pattern, the blooms are very, very close. They're right on top of each other. Mini Royal does start to bloom just a little bit earlier, but blooms at least a week to 2 weeks into the period of Royal Lee, and then Royal Lee blooms for about 1 more week after. So they get plenty of cross time, plenty of pollination time, especially 3rd year in the ground. So here's a new 3-in-1 group that went in this year. This is 3 plums, early, mid, late, and late. It's Superior, La Rota, and Beauty. And as you can see, they've done well. They've already grown out several feet. They were cut off here nice and low when they were put in the ground. So being, again, it's a 3-in-1 combination, so I want to give the combination balance. So the first thing I'm going to do is walk right into the center of this combination and look for growth that's coming back in toward the center. And we're going to remove that completely. So I'm going to take that big branch out. I'm going to take this out, and this out, and this. And I'm going to do a little bit here. Let's take that out, and let's take that out. So now we've opened up our center a little bit, so we have some room in here. Now we want to build nice low structure on these, so we want to come in at about 18 inches or so above the winter cut. We want to look for an outward growing bud, and we're going to take this growth right out so that our next flush of growth will give us a nice, bushy, compact plant and fill in this combination so that we get a good balance out of it. Always try and look for that bud that's going to grow in the direction that you want. If I make a cut above a bud that's growing back in toward the center or back in here towards me, that's the dominant growth that I'm going to get. So I want to push my dominant growth out and away from the center of the combination so that we're putting everything into the right direction. There we go. Here's our 4-in-1 peach nectarine combination, and we've got one of the varieties here, Tropic Snow, is just at peak ripeness right now. Tropic Snow is a very low chill adaptable white freestone peach that's ripe here through the month of June, and I'm just going to have to take a bite out of this one. That is absolutely delicious. So the varieties in this combination, we put 4 in here. They're Tropic Snow Peach, Desert Delight Nectarine, Original Nectar Peach, and one of my favorites, this beautiful Spice Z Nectaplum, which we gave the prime corner to. So right now what we want to do is come in and just clean this up a little bit. You can tell we're getting a little too much height on it, so I'm going to take the top out of it completely and just clean up the sides a little bit. And again, this is just size control, so we don't have to do anything in detail here if we don't want to. We just have to get our size checked and make sure that the trees look like they're a nice balance.
There's a lot of nice fruit though out there.
Yeah, there is. These trees did really well. I mean,
orchard did really good in this ground.
I was real happy with the way all these trees performed.
Yeah.
And you know, the crop that they set in their 2nd year was just tremendous. So now our 4-in-1's pruned really well. We've got our growth opened up and opened up the center a little bit. We've got some more air movement. There's still some nice fruit on the combination. We've got the nectarine that's finished, the peach that is going to give us another week or so, and 2 more varieties to follow that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through and just do a little bit more summer pruning on the rest of the orchard here, and we'll follow up here in another month or 2 months and do a little bit more. We'll probably stage it, 3 different pruning events through the summer to keep everything in balance and check. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to get out and do your first summer pruning. Open up those centers. Give yourself some light exposure. Give yourself some air movement. You've got plenty of time for regrowth for wood for next year, and you're going to have nicer, bigger, cleaner, better quality fruit for that light exposure and air movement. So don't sit around on the couch and wait for it to happen. Get your pruners out, get out, make some cuts.